What's up, everybody? My name is Patrick, and I'm with Epic Geeks, and today I'm going to talk to you about the huge changes coming to World of Warcraft. And tonight, for this video, I've got two other people who are also very experienced raiders, been playing WoW, both of them longer than I have, so they're more experienced to talk about this. I've got Firelord Dragon, aka Kelby, and
Yes.
alongside him is Grumpy Cat, aka David Jones. But let's begin. All right, so we're gonna start off with covering a little bit of stuff that most people should know about at this point because it's been pretty common knowledge. Kelby, you should really not pick your nose on the camera.
I'm not picking my nose. I'm itching all dude. I may do this, but I'm not like. There's no finger insertion. There was like a little bit as a joke, like 5 seconds ago. But
he's playing just the tip with his nose.
Yeah, just the tip. It doesn't count. No one knows that.
So something that everybody knows a little bit about were the garrisons. Garrisons, they kind of touched on this in the patch notes a little bit, but garrisons are just the Blizzard's answer to player housing. Again, we don't really need to go into too much detail about this, but I'm really excited about it. What do you guys think?
I'm excited. It's probably like the biggest thing I'm excited for in the expansion.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad they're putting in now that I can have my own little space to call my own.
Right, and specifically, I like that you can recruit. What are they? Little minions, and they can work for you. They can do. You don't really have to do professions anymore, from my understanding, because they'll just do it for you.
As I've heard it, you're going to have some of the benefits from the professions that you don't have, but it's not going to be as beneficial as having that profession.
It's like a half-assed version of the benefits.
But even if it's a profession you do have, can't you have them mine stuff for you? Because you can have a mine.
Yeah.
In your garrison.
Yeah, I suppose.
So I don't know. I think that sounds pretty cool. Or maybe you have to physically go into the mine, and then there's just a bunch of deposits in there. I don't know. Which would be cool because it'd be your private mine. You don't have to worry about other people camping the spots.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But sending them out to do raids, I think that's really cool too. And sometimes they can take a week at a time, and it's happening when you're offline, so your character's actually making progression in a way when you're not there. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still the plan, but when the garrisons were first being announced and discussed, there was mention of the fact that your followers, if you send them into a dungeon or into a raid, there's a chance they could be captured, and you would have a personal mission to have to go rescue them.
Oh, that would be cool.
Oh, I didn't hear about that, but that sounds actually awesome. I knew they could die or fail.
Yeah.
If they mentioned that at BlizzCon, like you get a little percentage, it's just like they could die.
Based on their skill level, it will rate the difficulty of the mission. From what I heard. So, anyway, so moving on from garrisons, the stat squish is another thing we've already heard about, but they touched about again in this big info dump that we got. And you can see this chart here from what it looks like. What it is right now, and the player power really starts to escalate at 85, and then if it was to continue on this trend, you can see we'd be so tremendously high by the time we got to 90 or 100, excuse me. But here you can see the not dotted line. It's a barely an increase.
Yeah, it's sorely needed, honestly. The numbers are just getting way too high. And it's not that your average player can't comprehend the numbers. It's the game engine can't handle crunching those large numbers.
Yeah, and you do kind of lose perspective on how much damage you're doing when you hit for 469,358 compared to a 26k crit. Which is that's what it's going to feel like, and those crits are going to feel more substantial when there's less numbers to look at. I think anyway.
It's going to be like BC. You're going to be like throwing like little numbers out, and then like that giant number pops out of nowhere, and you're like, "I'm the greatest."
Yeah,
and that's really what I think I've seen in a lot of the changes that they're doing as far as Warlords is they really want you to feel like you're the greatest. Your character is powerful, and even though you're losing player power, in a way, you're still going to be powerful. And Blizzard has also mentioned the fact that they're actually going to make it easier for you to go solo old content. Not necessarily easier, but more doable, because they're removing certain abilities in old raids that would stop you from doing it by yourself, like certain fears or certain lockout mechanics.
Right now, you can still get past most of them. I can't think of any of them other than the one in Blackwing Lair that stuns you completely.
There is that one. I know they're simplifying in the eye, I believe. So you're not just getting stunned, feared. When you're trying to, yeah.
On Kel'Thuzad.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's like what David said. I think this is mainly to help fix the math issue that's going on within the game. And just the really high numbers. It's just added so much up over the years. I'm pretty sure that's basically why Blizzard is doing this, and it's much needed.
Yeah, and the important thing for everyone to understand is the numbers are dropping drastically, but it's not a nerf. Everything's dropping. The players and the mobs, the bosses, everything's dropping to scale. So if you're hitting it for 20% of its health now, you're still going to be hitting for 20% of its health after the squish.
Right.
If you actually look at the example they give you, they're just dropping a 0 off the back of the number, basically. It's like 450K to 3 million, and then 30K to 200K. It's like, it's 15%.
It also just makes me think, though, how that's gonna, because when you look at the charts, it's kind of like a flat line, like backwards, though. So are we gonna be getting like one kill at level 1 and you're level 2, or are they adjusting all the way backwards?
No, it's only going back to the beginning of BC, basically.
Oh.
So they're making everything. You know how 1 to 60 is very linear.
Mm-hmm.
They're making everything 1 to 90 that same linear progression.
Okay.
And then they'll get back into the big jumps from 90 to 91. So you feel like you've accomplished something when you start getting into old Draenor,
Yeah.
old new alternate Draenor, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Outlands.
Draenor. It is Draenor, according to what's his name? That dev who announces all of the stuff at BlizzCon. Draenor, voice of Thrall.
Oh,
Chris
I don't know.
Chris Metzen, yeah.
Come on.
I don't know how I forgot
I
that.
met him.
Great guy. All right, so moving on. Hit and expertise. They are just like Ghostcrawler. And
yeah, gone. Did you see the image someone edited from
Yeah.
BlizzCon? Ghostcrawler, gone. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
yeah. This is really interesting to me. I mean, I always thought that hit and expertise were actually useful stats. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
Well, right now they're useful and necessary because of the way the base hit percentage and parry and all that work. But after the change, they're not going to be necessary anymore. Everybody's going to be hit capped by default up to 3 levels higher than themselves. So boss fights are going to be okay. Melee are still going to have a base 3% chance to be parried, so they'll still want to attack from behind. Tanks are all getting on top of the base hit percent, they're also getting a base expertise percentage as well, so they can't be parried.
And creatures are also getting 4+ levels higher, or creatures like four levels higher than you. You're still going to be missing them. Like that's not changing.
Yeah.
Like your hit's not going to affect that at all.
Right.
and dual wielding still has the 17% chance of missing, stuff like that, blah blah. But what you're really going to see here because of these changes are every class specific and racial that had to do with hit and miss or hit and expertise. Those are all being completely changed or modified or just gone.
Yeah.
So obviously, because if those stats aren't in the game, those abilities will do nothing.
I'm kind of neutral about it. I've never actually liked hit from the beginning because I played a caster class and it's just like, oh great, better get hit gear. I'm just gonna be throwing lightning bolts left and fucking right of the boss.
Yeah.
Like that hand motion. It's pretty great. Just this is what my guy was doing. Just completely out of the blue.
So we'll talk about player health and resilience. The high amount of base resilience and battle fatigue and Mists of Pandaria cause characters to feel weaker in PvP, which is true because everybody had, everyone had a base. What was it? 75% resilience.
I think it was like 72 at the beginning and bumped up to 75. But I just go with
roughly.
in the 70s. Let's just not give specific numbers. We'll just fucking.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I mean, Grumpy doesn't PvP much anyway, so. He doesn't need to be part of this conversation, really. So this is, Anyway.
Hold on, I need to look through these real quick.
Well, essentially, resilience, just like Ghostcrawler, is gone. And, now they're doubling player health in PvP.
Yeah,
than what it is out of PvP.
Yeah.
So that's going to mean that the matches are actually going to last a little bit longer.
It gives people more room to like try out fancy tricks and stuff like thunderstorming people off ledges and rooting them off.
Matches are going to be a lot more intense, also because of what they're doing with healing, which we'll get to in a minute. But there's just going to be a lot more decision based attacks and heals because it's not just going to be burst damage, dead. It's going to. Druids, rogues, warriors, monks. The list goes on as far as burst damage goes. But I don't know. Another good change, I think. Again, we're kind of quickly going through these topics here because they've already been talked about before. If you want to go into detail about them, of course, the links will be in the video, but it is on worldofwarcraft.com for the full 33 pages of patch notes. David, welcome back to the conversation, my friend.
Thank you.
We were just covering PvP stuff. Since you don't PvP, I figured it was fun to talk about while you were out of the conversation.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I have no input on the PvPs.
But, I mean, it is interesting, though. Like, have you heard that there's no more resilience in PvP?
I don't know. I think I had heard something about it, but again, I don't PvP, so I didn't really care.
Well, actually, correction. It's there he goes again. All right, back onto the topics of World of Warcraft.
Healing? You got to pass that up.
Yes, healing. It's a very tough topic to go into because there is so much here on healing. They're changing it, and I'm just going to go say what I can and my best understanding. They got rid of a lot of the fast burst healing because how healing is right now is it's easy. You especially for like a Windwalker monk or a holy priest, holy shit, or don't even get me started on resto druids. But you can sit there with your entire raid group at least over 75% health when you're at least moderately geared and no one's fucking up. You can be doing it really easily because you're just blanket healing everybody. And, that's how druids have healed for the longest time. But now with the innovation of smart healing on almost every healing class has a smart heal at this point. It takes the thinking out of healing. It just kind of turns you into a melee or a ranged DPS. You don't really have to think about what you're doing. You're just hitting your buttons, and that's what healing's always been. It's always been a kind of smarter way to play WoW. Not to insult you people who don't heal, but
praise you.
How
you can do it.
Healing is very abstractly different than how you play as a DPS or even a tank. Just because of what you have to think about constantly. And with healing in Mists of Pandaria, and even towards the end of Cataclysm, it just became such a, Yay! And now they're taking there's spirit. No, spirit is not. I think spirit is gone, from my understanding. Yeah, spirit's gone. So,
Really? I haven't looked at the healing changes because as a tank, I don't care.
right. Uh,
Right? It's just like I don't heal, so I feel like that's someone else's problem.
I tried healing for a while on the druid, and I was not very good at it, so I just gave it up.
it's definitely it's something you have to get used to, but with how it is now, with how it's going to be in Draenor, it's with how you're going to be way more focused on how your heals affect your mana and what heals you use on certain people instead of just raid heal, raid heal, raid heal. Everyone's at full health. It's, do I have time to cast this right now? Do I have the mana to full heal everybody, or should I full heal the tank? It's going to be a lot more decision making, and that's going to affect raiding and PvP, especially PvP. There's a lot to go in here with healing, and don't want to spend too much time on it.
It's going to separate the actual good healers from the shitty guys who just got some gear and could face roll their way through the content.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good
Yeah,
thing.
like me. I'm a terrible healer.
Like me on
Good
nights,
tank, terrible healer.
like me on nights when I showed up with some whiskey in hand while trying to raid and heal.
Yeah, that wasn't working out too well.
Don't worry, guys, I got you.
Oh, look, we're all dead.
The times we all died, though, that was never my fault. I don't think I was ever the cause of a raid wipe.
Yes,
know
yes,
of.
you were. That was when you pulled shamans with lightning.
Oh, okay. Well,
Hey guys, I'm going to pull the shamans, and then you actually did it, and then we all died.
I announced it in raid chat, pulling shamans, and no one said no.
I feel like only tanks can do that. But that's just me.
I
feel like
I'd pulled before. It wasn't something that should have been surprising to anybody. I thought everyone would be ready. But here you can see like the list of spells that are changing here: soothing mist, renewing mist, stuff like that. Smart heals though are definitely something I know they wanted to focus on. Smart heals are not going to be so smart anymore because they took the thinking out of the game, which is good. I like people to think. That makes you not have to. That makes you know you have a good healer when they're doing stuff right.
Yeah, they're not entirely retarded heals now, but they've been dumbed down a bit where they're just going to be healing wounded players at random. You know, you could have the guy that really needs it not get it, and then somebody who's hurt, like, I mean, they barely have lost any health, and they're getting the heal.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing, and we'll go into it again when they're adjusting what they call button bloat. A lot of spells are going to be combined into one, like heal, healing tide. Every class's basic heal is going to be gone, and then they're going to rename greater healing tide, greater healing wave, greater heal to just be the healing tide, because nobody ever even uses those little ones anymore. Just an example of how they're adjusting to the button bloat through healing spells. And spells with cooldowns or limitations may have a higher efficiency than non-cooldown equivalents. Another thing, this big info dump here, is we've got race changes. A lot of them are kind of simple, like arcane acuity. That's a new racial passive ability for Blood Elves that increases crit by 1%. A lot of these changes that are coming in are actually what they said they're trying to equalize the Horde and the Alliance, because for PvP, the Horde had a lot better racials. That would explain why the Alliance loses Battlegrounds all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, Alliance sucks at the PvP, and it's not even that it's bad. You know, all Alliance players are bad. It's Horde generally have advantages in the PvP.
And one thing that I see here, like Will of the Forsaken's cooldown increased to 3 minutes from 2. That actually means that people aren't just going to play, and I believe the same things with the human passive. That means people aren't just going to play undead and human for the free PvP trinket. That means it has a longer cooldown than the PvP trinket, so not as useful.
I think the human one's still what it used to be. I'm not seeing the change.
Yeah, there's no change on that one.
Oh.
I noticed something special about trolls. If you all would take a gander at the pages, you'll see that trolls actually get a 20% increase to experience when killing beasts, instead of what their passive used to be of just 5% bonus damage.
Go Trolls! Woo!
Go trolls and keep trolling. I want to see troll warriors. Come on. Come on. I've only seen like 4 in my life. I've been playing since classic. I'm not even joking.
Mace specialization and sword specialization, those have been like removed for humans, like because they were expertise bonuses.
Yeah, looks like all of those that were expertise or hit type things are just gone. As opposed to being changed to something else, it looks like most of them are gone.
It seems like dwarf might be if you're going to be like a warrior or something on the alliance, dwarves seem pretty good because stone form now also removes magic and curse effects in addition to poisons, diseases, and bleed effects, also with reducing damage taken by 10% for 8 seconds.
I can see how that also be good for dwarf rogue. Just pop that when you're trying to vanish. You don't have to waste cloak or anything.
All right, but again, if you want to check out every specific class change, head on over to worldofwarcraft.com. But here really, something I'm really taking interest in is ability pruning. This is basically where they're talking about over the years, a game like World of Warcraft. 10 years. That's what is this? The 5th expansion now?
Let's see, BC Wrath, Kata.
Oh yeah, I guess it would be the
5th one.
So 5th expansion over 10 years. They're adding abilities all the time, changing abilities, and we sit there now like my hotbar is stacked 3 high and 11 wide of all these keybinds and stuff that are they're just taking up how many buttons I have to use. I had a little keypad that I used, the Razer Nostromo. I was using that for the longest time, and then I switched to the full version of the Razer Black Widow here. Look at it, it's pretty. Because I ran out of keys to hit on that fucker because of all this ability bloat. And this is really going to help. And what it's doing is they're either eliminating abilities that nobody uses, or they're combining abilities that people have macroed together anyway.
And in some cases, they are restricting certain abilities to certain specs.
Right, like Army of the Dead for Death Knights. That is no longer for everybody. It's just a Blood Death Knight ability. And it only deals 75% less damage than it used to. So it's not going to be this overpowered lots of minions hitting. It's just kind of a tank, taunt, random things ability.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
They could switch it so the ghouls taunt will just go to bosses too, so the ghouls will just take 1 extra hit, or a hit instead of the tank, and make that the cooldown in itself, right? Like that's the only way I can see that being a legitimate cooldown, other than just a bunch of pointless ghouls.
Yeah, I see. That's the thing right now is I'm looking at that and I'm trying to figure out what possible scenario.
Well, and that's the thing about what's going on right now. We still don't have all the answers from Blizzard. I mean, reading through these notes, it's like I play a Death Knight and I look through all the things that are being removed. It kind of makes me sad. No more Unholy Frenzy. I'll probably not play an Unholy Death Knight ever again. And only the Unholy Death Knight can summon the Ghoul now. So there goes a really good cooldown for Frost Death Knights. Stuff like that. So I'm concerned and confused, but I'm not going to be pissed off until the game is actually out. Which is a lot of people.
Then you'll be angry.
I
am enraged, sir.
I just can't judge it. Is a better way to say that until the game is out because we don't know everything right now.
Yeah, I'm scared. I have to learn how to druid tank again.
I mean, if you look at paladins. I mean, there's list just says gone, pretty much. Inquisition, Holy Light, Hand of Salvation, Guardian of the Age. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with paladins there.
since I play Shaman, I, obviously looked at the Shaman ones first. I'm actually perfectly okay with what they're doing. They're just taking away buttons that I have on my bar that I never hit.
Yeah, and that is the exact purpose of this. It's really trying to clean up what they've done over the years, and they know everybody. Like warriors, for example, macroing everything together. They're just getting rid of those abilities that you macro together and putting them as one. And that will really clean up the game. I mean, you see modern MMOs; they do not have the hot bars up the side of the screen anymore. They're very simplified in how many abilities you use. And I know Warcraft is more complex than most MMOs, but they still want to be cleaner, more user friendly, not dumbing it down, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I-
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid of one thing in general is where they're pruning abilities, where people have gotten used to having so many abilities and so many cooldowns and what have you. They remove a lot of them. It's going to feel like the game has no challenge left to it when when you go from, say, a 6-button rotation to a 3-button rotation.
I feel like they're going to make up with that with like boss mechanics and how hard things are to kill, and the fact that you might actually have to get out of the way of mechanics.
Wait,
Yeah.
what? Mechanics are actually going to be important?
Yeah,
The fire doesn't give you a haste buff?
yeah, I know
Come
that is a thing that they're really focusing on. They want to add other things to the game, so you're not having to focus on your rotation so much. And I mean, not focus on your rotation, but just not have to know
Every little thing.
Yeah, and it like I said, it almost affects DPS and tanking as it affects healing. They want things to feel more situational and not just I'm hitting buttons and doing a lot of this. They really just want the game to be cleaner.
Yeah. Yeah, which is nice, and I'm definitely keeping open mind, reserving judgment until we see at least a beta. Hopefully, we can play in that for a while and check it out. Once the final product launches, give that a shot.
Yeah, when it launches in December.
Yeah, I don't see it being that long, honestly.
If they're just this is Mists of Pandaria beta was 6 months. Beta was 6 months.
Yeah.
Dude, they could just crank out this alpha in like 2 months and then beta for 3 and then just be like, guys, we know you want this already. Here it is. Half done.
And you have to remember they
Cataclysm.
have another game in alpha as well, Heroes of the Storm. I mean, and they
They're
just
completely
released Diablo
different
3.
games.
But
I feel like they don't affect one another.
yeah, but they won't
That's how I
release
see it.
around the same time. So either Heroes or Warlords is not getting released this year. I guess I would most likely Heroes not being released this year over Warlords.
Yeah, that's an entirely new game.
Okay, well, we need to move on because we've been on this section for quite a while. And before we go, I just want to point out 2 things that I saw got removed that I feel like are big deals. Like mages no longer have mana gems, and warriors are losing a whole stance. Like berserker stance is being removed.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I never used it when I played my warrior, but I was also a really bad warrior.
Again, like there's a lot more changes that I don't necessarily see the benefits of now, because I mean I myself don't play a warrior. I have one. She's 65, so yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a high level warrior. I've played with warriors here and there up to like in the 20s, 30s, and I see here cleave is being removed as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need it.
But I mean, in even moving on to things that are being removed, the next section talks about crowd control and diminishing returns. This is more another PvP thing, really, but there's no more disarms. No more disarms. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. No more disarms. I think happily about that when I get disarmed, and yay, that won't happen to me anymore. But then I can't disarm people anymore, and
Yeah.
that's kind of disappointing.
I guess this warrior is going to bash my face in.
Yeah, exactly. Every interrupt, there's no more silence effect to that anymore. So, in PvP, I don't know. That's kind of a big change for me because I'm so
Yeah.
used to interrupting, also silencing them for a little bit of time.
I'm perfectly okay with that.
Um,
Give them a chance to think of what they did before they die.
all stuns, every stun is now on the same diminishing return, which that's great. And you can now dispel cyclone, mass dispel only though, not regular dispel. So, but still, there you can actually remove it. Yay!
Thanks, Blizzard.
Um, Hunter pets, everybody, hunter pets no longer have CC abilities. Cue the clapping sound effect right there. You
I don't
will
really
know-
care, but okay. Woo.
Well, basically, David, that meant every time. I mean, seriously, the last few arenas, Dragon Kelby and I did together.
Maybe sound like two different people.
Dragon Kelby. And the last few arenas we've done together, every time we get in a group with a hunter, we'd just be like, fuck.
GG. Dunzo.
So I myself am really happy about that. There's so much going on here. Like the Fists of Fury for monks, no longer stunning more than once per cast.
That
Yeah.
needs to be in the game right now.
I've
I've wasted plenty of trinkets.
my monk
on
is
that.
my main right now, so I don't know how I feel about that. I love that it was a unique stun than other classes had. They could sit there, punch, the person would trinket, still punching, they're still stunned, and they wasted their trinket. I thought that was you could do some timing things with that, but I'm a little upset. Okay, they're changing my class. Fuck you, Blizzard. So another thing, I mentioned it slightly earlier when I was talking about healing, but another big topic they have here, just right here in its own little category, is instant cast healing. I don't know why they want to do away with it so much, but they are. Example, Wild Growth for Druids now has a 1.5 second cast time. Uplift. That was the biggest thing I spam on my monk. 1.5 second cast time. And you can see this list for paladins. It's like every instant cast they had, 1.5 second cast time. Same with priests. Again, this goes back to Blizzard trying to make healing more decisive. But I think instant casts were good for PvP specifically because when you're running around getting hit by somebody, you kind of want to have something that you can do really quickly.
It's a double-edged sword, though. This is going to force PvP healers to learn how to juke, so they waste their interrupt. So then you can just free cast without the, fear of being interrupted.
This is a World of Warcraft show. Nobody's gonna know your League of Legends lingo.
Oh my god, I heard juke from back in Wrath or something from some one guy because I kept getting my lightning bolt interrupted. And it's just like, you gotta juke them by hitting escape. You can do that? Okay.
David, our resident tank in the group, you want to go ahead and mention what's going on with Vengeance? It's all over the place.
Yeah, so Vengeance is gone, but not gone. It's gone. It's changed.
And it's good.
Yeah, it's changed to Resolve. So they're taking the attack power bonus from the Vengeance buff. Oh, it's gone.
And it's gone.
And now you get better effectiveness on your active mitigations, absorptions, and self heals. So to combat the tank DPS loss, they are increasing all tanks' primary attacks. The damage of those attacks are being increased, so that tanks are still able to produce a decent amount of DPS without topping the charts on fights that are very tank damage intensive, like Garrosh, for example.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day doing Heart of Fear, and
Back in the day,
Back
as if
in
that
the
was a
days.
long time ago.
In the
that was
beginning.
months ago. That was months ago. Come on now. So several months ago, doing Heart of Fear, tanking all of the ads on that fourth boss. I can't remember his name. But the guy that had the 9 ads and you had to CC a few of them, or everybody would die, basically.
Just keep talking. I'll look it up.
Yeah. So basically the way it would work would be one tank would tank the boss himself, and then the other would have all the ads. Well, if I was tanking the ads, I had so much vengeance. This is before the vengeance nerf, but I had so much vengeance that I would be the top DPS for the entire fight. Just because I had so much damn
Right,
vengeance.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember, I guess that goes back to Cataclysm tanking on my Blood Death Knight when I could be in no gear, no tanking gear, and I would be doing at least second DPS in some fights, like on old Traxian, for example. That was fun, tanking that fight. Okay.
Windlord. That's him.
Windlord Meldrock.
That's right? I just Googled fourth boss of Heart of Fear, and that's what came up. So I'm assuming that's right, because Google knows everything.
So, moving on from Vengeance talk.
Dying. Let's do the resurrection thing.
Well, just really fast, I think it's funny that they're getting rid of facing requirements. Like, druids, they don't have to stand behind the target to do shred. Rogues don't have to be behind them to ambush them. This change... This kind of just takes a little bit of realism out of the game, in my opinion. Like these abilities that they're changing it to, you should be behind the target to do that.
Do you know how hard it is to get behind a target in PvP and backstab, and when they're mouse turning just as fast as you are? It's fucking difficult. I PvP'd as a rogue a little bit in Wrath, and it was.
But that's what makes it challenging.
And it's actually impossible to do so on NPCs. Unless you stun them, because they will turn faster than you can.
Well, maybe if Blizzard implemented like physics and real world ragdoll stuff, they would actually have to move their feet to turn around instead of snap. I'm looking the other direction now. But this is a 10-year-old game. What can we expect? Project Titan, maybe we can have some better hopes for
Wings, like Aeon. Come on, Blizzard.
Yeah, but resurrection costs, they reduced the mana cost of all resurrection spells to 4% base of their base mana.
To match with priests, I believe it was.
Yep. So, yeah, you're not...
50% mana cost for resurrection. Was that like...
As a tanking druid, I can res 2 people and then I'm out.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
like,
yeah, like...
What the fuck has more than a 10%?
Yeah,
I guess
like...
that makes a lot more sense now.
Classes that have mana that aren't healers.
Paladins.
Another thing here that really caught my attention was automatically learned glyphs. I can only imagine how pissed off inscriptionists
Fuck them.
are going to be.
Greedy bastards. That's what they are.
Well, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, I don't really... This is another change that I don't really see why Blizzard's doing it. I mean, they obviously have a reason.
Well, I guess because glyphs are integral to being able to properly do your job. And sometimes it's hard or very expensive to get the correct glyphs. Now, what they're going to do to offset this for the inscriptionists, as far as a viable income profession, I don't know. They've got to do something, because
you still have like the
glyphs.
Scrolls of Enchant, though. That's another thing inscriptions can still do, but they still need to have that other profession.
I don't know. I think glyphs are their big thing, and if these major glyphs are being part of that you're gonna automatically learn them, then that's kind of a big cut from the amount of gold they make because they're so expensive. That's a big amount of their profit.
It's like welfare. They're just giving stuff out for free because inscriptionists have too much money. Because let's be realistic. I'm not going to pay 500 gold for a glyph that I kind of need.
Yeah, no.
Maybe I think it'd be better for them to change. Well,
and inscription is super easy to level.
That's true.
So you can, if you like right now, where some glyphs are ridiculously expensive. Mm-hmm. If you really need one, or you need a handful, it's
Yes.
almost easier to just power level inscription and make all the glyphs you need.
So next up to talk about, and this is probably the biggest chunk of the info dump right here, is the specific class changes. Like I'm seeing right now, there's big changes coming to mages. It looks like they're really trying to distinguish each spec from each other. See, like the bomb, Nether Tempest, Living Bomb, Frost Bomb, that's gone. It's now one bomb, and there's going to be 2 other abilities to choose from, and then that
Really?
bomb will change based on which spec you are. So that opens up 2 new ability slots for mages.
Alter Time's also gone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, not gone. Sorry, it's replacing Temporal Shield as a level 30 talent.
Yeah, Temporal Shield is gone. Invocation is gone. Mirror Image is now a level 90 talent.
Wait, what? Invocation's gone?
Yeah, replaced by Mirror Image at level 90.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of really shaking mages up here a bit. And I'm seeing a lot of reworks to the monk. Blizzard's newest class. They're really changing stuff. Like there's a whole new stance for doing damage as a Mistweaver.
Really?
Yeah, Stance of the Wise Serpent.
Huh. Well, that kind of makes sense because there's the four Celestials, and the monks are the whole Celestials thing. So that kind of makes sense that they need to have 4 something, either 4 specs or 4 stances or something. I don't know. It just makes sense to me.
Not Spirited Crane, but it's it's Stance of the Spirited Crane. What am I talking about? Yeah, not Wise Serpent, but Stance of the Spirited Crane. That's what it is. And so
It's like Wise Serpent.
So for you to do like Blackout Kick, Jab, Tiger Palm, the only 3 melee abilities you used as a Mistweaver, you have to be in that stance now. So that makes me wonder if fist weaving is going to be like a whole separate, like you either fist weave or you heal, or if you're going to be stance jumping, kind of like a warrior.
I think it'd be very interesting to see a stance dancing healer. She's like, healing's already stressful enough. Let's throw stance dancing into it. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, and like abilities like Uplift, Soothing Mist, Renewing Mist, Enveloping Mist now require Stance of the Wise Serpent, the healing stance. You can't do them in the other one, so or as any other spec.
Moving on to a more old class. That's not the right word. Moving to a older class, Paladins are seeing some few changes.
Yeah, very.
They're completely removing Guardian of the Ancient Kings from Holy, and they're making a Divine Favor a little more favorable, right? And increasing the Paladin's healing 100% for its duration, which I think it actually made your heals worse now. Is that true? I don't actually have a max level Paladin, so I don't know that for sure.
I used to.
I've never healed a day on my Paladin. I have him. I got him to 90. He's sitting at like eye level 440-ish, and I haven't touched him in months.
Yeah, it looks like Warlocks, since they kind of redid Warlocks completely for Mists of Pandaria, they're not getting very many changes. Drain Life now heals 30% less, so you cannot spam that anymore as effectively. Glyph of Drain Life now increases the healing of Drain Life, though, by 100%, up from... Holy shit! Never mind.
One interesting thing about Warlocks and raid utility is the health stones are now going to share cooldowns with health pots.
That's...
And they won't reset until you get out of combat. So you're only going to... You're either going to have...
So if you have a Warlock, you don't need pots, basically.
Right. But you also don't need a Warlock like you do now. Like, Warlocks are very utilitarian, and every raid wants to have at least one because of the cookies.
Summons.
I'm glad they upped the cooldown time for the Demonic Gateway, 90 seconds up from 45. So that was really annoying in arenas. Whenever you had a Warlock, you'd have to stop them, interrupt them from putting up their demonic gateway. So that would be a huge pain. Oh, man, look at the time. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? We're going to have to wrap this up here. There's a lot of information that we've been dealt by Blizzard. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. A lot of information here. There's a lot to handle, really, and we still don't know how it's going to work. It's only in the Friends and Family Alpha right now. Very limited people are actually in playing. But it's going to roll out like Hearthstone, I believe. We're going to see more and more people get invites. The beta, they said, is not going to be as large as Miss Pandaria because there was a lot of people in that beta. So when we can expect it to come out, I don't know. I would definitely...
December.
Yeah, I would definitely expect a lot more information to come out, though, between here and then. Once a lot more... people actually get into the beta too, we'll be able to just see it for ourselves, play around with it, and then especially when patch 6.0 drops, usually a month before the expansion, so we'll get to play in Siege of Orgrimmar with the new raid style. That's something I'm really excited about. Any closing words from you two before I wrap this up?
Don't be afraid. Change is good.
Yep, I mean it's a 10-year-old game. It could get worse, but I'm hoping for the best. And if it gets worse, we can always go play another game. That's what pisses me off the most is people are willing to sit in the game and complain about things and go do something else. So
Yeah, go play Elder Scrolls. It just came out.
Yep. So with that, I'm Patrick with Epic Geeks, and hope you liked the video. Thumb it up, subscribe, and stay tuned for Epic Geeks for any World of Warcraft news.